Yasodanandana Rajadanandana Yamuna Tiranachari Yamuna Tiranachari Rayarat Madhava Conda Bihari Rayarat Madhava Conda Bihari Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Radha Shiva Sani Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, 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 Prabhupada. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada. Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Harinam Sankirtan Yagi ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Grantaran Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, 10th Canto, Chapter 23, entitled The Brahmana's Wife's Blessed, text number 8. Dikshaya pasu sanstaya sutramanyascha suttamaha anyatra diksitasyapi nanamasnan hidusyate. Dikshaya pasu samstaya sutramanyascha sattamaha anyatra diksitasyapi nanamasnan hidusyate. Dikshaya pasu samstaya sutramanyascha sattamaha anyatra diksitasyapi nanamasnan hidusyate. Sutramanyascha sattamaha anyatra diksitasyapi nanamasnan hidusyate.
Dikshaya pashu samsthaya sutramanyascha sattamaha anyatra diksitasyapi nanam ashnan hidusyate.
Dikshaya pashu samstaya sutramanyascha sattamaha anyatra diksitasyapi nanashnan hidusyate.
Ladies,
Dikshaya pashu samstaya satramanyascha sattamaha anyatra diksitasyapi nanamasnan hidusyate.
anyone else? Dikshaya, beginning with the initiation for a sacrifice. Pasu sanstaya, until sacrificing the animal. Sutramanya, outside of the sacrifice known as Sutramani. Cha, end. Sattamaha, O purest ones. Anyatra, elsewhere. Diksitasya, of one who has been initiated for the sacrifice. Api, even. Na, not. Anam, food. Asnam, eating. He, indeed. Dusyate, creates offense. Translation. Except during the interval between the initiation of the performer of a sacrifice and the actual sacrifice of the animal, O most pure Brahmanas, it is not contaminating for even the initiated to partake of food, at least in sacrifices other than the Sotramani. Purport. The cowherd boys anticipated the possible objection from the Brahmanas that they couldn't give the boys any food because they themselves had not yet eaten, and that a priest initiated to perform a sacrifice should not eat. Therefore the boys humbly informed the Brahmanas about various technicalities of ritualistic sacrifice. The cowherd boys were not unaware of the formalities of Vedic culture, where their real intention was simply to render loving service to Lord Krishna. Om Agyanatimanandasya Gyanandana Salakaya Shakshuramihitam Yana Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Well, here we're having meat eating in the Vedic literature. It's clearly right there in black and white. Zakir Naik is right. Or, meat eating is existing in the Vedic culture. And what about that? Therefore, is there really a problem with it? Maybe we see here the Brahmanas are doing it in a sacrifice, but they are described as pure Brahmanas, and that is Srimad Bhagavatam. So what about that? We understand that the Vedas are very elaborate, and that they offer a program for practically living beings in any condition of life. There are 3 modes of material nature in the material world, and the activities of the mode of ignorance or tamagun are activities that are causing suffering, they cause madness, they cause illusion, they are basically covering the consciousness with darkness. So for people who are in the mode of ignorance and are accustomed to such kind of activities, yes, flesh eating is allowed. That is described in the Vedas. So there are sacrifices where animals are being offered, for example, to Kali. And we see in Kali pujas, basically the worship is of a lower nature. This is the worship of the shakters. The shakters, their worship is kind of primitive, because the concept of shakhter worship is whenever the material energy is acting in a harsh way, then pacify that material energy. So if the material energy wants blood, maybe our blood, quickly give it some other blood of an animal. So this reminds of more primitive types of worship that one may see around the world. That is a fact. So the shakhter worship is like the lowest level of worship, and is considered worship for those in the mode of ignorance. But then here, in this verse, it doesn't look like we're dealing with these kind of people that are performing the sacrifice, because they seem to be Brahmanas, pure Brahmanas. So that is a little surprising that the Brahmanas are engaging in this flesh eating as well. And it's not just without support, because if you go to the Manu Samhita, which is the law book for the Vedic culture, and we see that practically this Manu Samhita, or the Smriti, the Manu Smriti, became very predominant in India. Although the four Vedas, the Rig, Yajur Veda, Samaveda, Atharva Veda, are giving the basis of Vedic practice, we see that actually the Manusmriti became a predominant scripture that was widely followed. And Brahmanas that were adhering to this Manusmriti were known as Smarta Brahmanas. Those were adhering to the Smriti, and they had communities all over India, in Kashmir, in the south, in Bengal, practically everywhere. They were predominating the landscape. So these Smarta Brahmanas gradually began to claim a Brahminical status by birthright, and also gradually the Smarta Brahmanas became influenced by the impersonalist philosophy of Sankara. Alright, so that was all going on. So then it came to a degraded form of sacrifice, of animal sacrifice, where said it really doesn't matter. In Bengal they said yata mat tata pat, whatever, whatever path you follow, it anyway leads all to the same. But here we're not dealing with such kind of Brahmanas. Here we're dealing with Brahmanas who are of a higher caliber. They are certainly qualified Brahmanas. But these Brahmanas were not engaged in a sacrifice offered to the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. They were engaged in a Karma Kanda sacrifice. So the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas is that section of the Veda which deals with improving the material conditions of life. There are two paths in the Vedas. One is known as Pravriti Marg, the other path is known as Nivriti Marg. The Pravriti Marg is the path of improving the material conditions by following various ritualistic activities. Yes. So there's a lot of that. And oh yes, you must burn this lamp. Oh yes, you must make this offering. Yes, you must do this puja. Even Vishwakarma puja must be done, and we see people worshipping their tools, their bicycles, like that. Yes, this must be done, so that every aspect of life is blessed. When we move in a new house, we hang a pumpkin, make a face on the pumpkin, speak mantras to invoke all kinds of entities that might be floating around, and so on. And we capture them in that pumpkin, and then with force throw the pumpkin out of the house, and all these kind of things. When you are buying a new car, you have to put 4 lemons under the wheels and hang a chili on the mirror. You cannot have a car without chili. It's not possible. It doesn't taste very nice. No. So these things are there, and why nobody knows, but still there's lots of chilies hanging on the mirrors and so on. All to counteract all inauspiciousness. And the vastu is there, and when the tree is in the wrong position, and then cut that tree in the name of vastu, and whatnot. Build a wall in the middle of the garden, right? Just for the sake of vastu. So all this is part of the Karma Kanda section of the Vedas. The Vedic ritualistic activities which are improving the material conditions of life. And it may work. And even sacrifices were there which involved animal sacrifice. It is said that the idea of this Karma Kanda is that the Brahmanas are not only trying to improve the conditions of life on this earth, but they are also at the same time, through their sacrifices, trying to attain the heavenly planets. Then enjoy in the heavenly planets, then come back down in a pious family of Brahmanas, then continue the Karma Kanda sacrifices, and again fix up whatever is not working in the material world through ritual, and again go to the heavenly planets. And when they get tired of that, of the Karma Kanda section, then they move on to the Jnana Kanda section, the Upanishads, and where one can strive for liberation. And then that's as far as they go. One level up from there is where one realizes there is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He is behind everything, and everything simply is meant for His pleasure. Even we. Not only is this whole world meant for Krishna's pleasure, even we are meant for Krishna's pleasure. And that is the only way that we can actually experience full pleasure. We can experience minute pleasure when we are acting separated from Krishna. But only full pleasure we can experience in relation to Krishna. Therefore, no matter how much pleasure we experience from so many activities in this world, they cannot give fulfillment. Tried everything, still not satisfied. Still hungry. Heard it all, seen it all, done it all, and still not satisfied. I mean, it's kind of city life. So, what to say? We can see that the topmost practice is to satisfy Krishna. But what about these brahmanas sacrificing animals? Well, let's make it very clear that brahmanas who were doing that, they were meant to revive the animal by dint of their power of chanting mantra. So then in these kind of sacrifices, which were sacrifices aimed at attaining the heavenly planets, then an animal could be sacrificed, and then the brahmanas by mantra would bring that animal back to life, and it would get either rejuvenated or sometimes even get a human form of life. That same soul. There is a Puranic history referring to one lady, the wife of a Brahmana, who was expecting. And at that time, it is said when ladies are expecting, they get a particular craving for something. They have to eat something particular. Vedic literature says if one doesn't give in to that craving, then one will have a child that will always drool. I mean, I don't know if that's I don't know about these things, but must be. So, okay, one must give in to the craving. So this lady, during the sacrifice, there was a sacrifice of a cow. Even cows were being sacrificed. And when she smelled the flesh, she was getting a little bit, she got that craving. So she stole a small piece and walked away with it and was going to eat it, when the Brahmana, by mantra, suddenly revived that cow. And then, to his surprise, there was a piece missing. And meanwhile, she noticed that that piece in her hand was coming to life. And she threw it on the earth. And that became onions and garlic and mushrooms and carrots. Yeah. And since I heard that story, I don't like carrots anymore. I want some carrot halva. No, it's okay. Anyway, Prabhupada ate them, so I still eat them, but still they don't taste the same. I must admit. Sorry for the carrots. What to do? So it is interesting, these Puranic histories. So yes, it is at Asvamedam Gavalamam Sanyasam Palapaitrikam Devarina Sutotpatim Panchakalo Vivarjayet. In this age of Kali, 5 activities are forbidden. And that is the Asvamedha Yagya, or the horse sacrifice, the Gavalamba, the cow sacrifice. Also, there was a practice in Vedic culture that if a man was somehow or other not fertile and not producing a child in his marriage, then his brother could impregnate the wife on his behalf. That's in Kali Yuga also forbidden. Not on behalf of the brother. And finally it said sannyas is also forbidden in the age of Kali. Well, you know, well, what to say about that? Well, of course we have Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who took sannyas, and also who had sannyasi followers. All right? And we have Srila Prabhupada, who, of course, was a sannyasi and who wrote in the Srimad Bhagavatam in the third canto in the narration of Kadamba Muni, where Kadamba Muni is about to renounce and take sannyas. Prabhupada is explaining, yes, sannyas can be taken, but only by those who are serving Krishna. Because only by those who are getting fulfillment, not by those who take the impersonalist sannyas. Because the impersonalist basically says this world is illusion, but at the same time his mind says, but it looks really good. It's a very beautiful illusion. An illusion with blue eyes and so on, right? And with little golden stars and whatnot, right? So that is the difficulty. The illusion looks very good, and therefore the impersonalist sannyasi or renunciant is always in danger, very much in danger. Whereas etam sastaya paratmanistam madhyasitam purvatamer mahadbi aham tarisyami duranta param tamo mukundangri niseviyeva. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu took sannyas, he chanted that verse and he kept on repeating it. Etam sastaya paratmanistam. And he explained that one can overcome this ocean of nescience by becoming absorbed in service to the lotus feet of Mukunda. So we're now not speaking about the sannyasis, we're speaking about everybody. Everybody, no matter what the ashram is. We are all, it doesn't matter in this Sankirtan movement, whether we are grihastas, brahmacharis, vanaprasthas, sannyasis, we all have the same goal, to go back to Godhead, back to the spiritual world. Therefore Prabhupada called his magazine Back to Godhead, which is kind of a long name for a magazine, you know, like usually Time, you know, Newsweek, something short. And here's Back to Godhead. It's very long for a magazine. One might have said, why not Godhead, you know? No, Back to Godhead. Because that is our logo. If we have any logo, it is, you know, a logo is kind of one sentence, one phrase that sums up the very essence of our entire practice. And Back to Godhead sums that up. That's what it's all about. And how we want to do it, well, you know, we are individuals. We need to be individuals. Bhakti is not a process of oppression. The impersonalist process is the process of oppression, because everything is Maya and illusion. Therefore, everything is to be cut off. But in Bhakti, it is not like that. Therefore, Bhakti is a natural process. But Kavi Karnapur pointed out not just naturalness, it is naturalness. Well, in his Chaitanya Chandadoy Natak, he has a whole section where different qualities marry each other, right? And naturalness marries purity. That's the match. That's the perfect match. These two are together. When naturalness and purity are together, then it works. Then suddenly, and that is bhakti. So purity is coming from Krishna. Dharmam tu saksat bhagavat pranitam. It is Purity has its origin in Krishna. He is the supreme pure. And to go before Krishna, one has to also be pure. Just like Prabhupada said, if you want to go to the sun, then you cannot just go in this body. Like everyone knows these kind of movies where they're flying in space, like in some sort of spaceship, and we're losing control. The controls don't work, and then the spaceship starts to go towards the sun, and it starts sweating, and they're working, and they're trying to somehow get saved, and it gets hotter and hotter, and the thing is flying towards the sun. You know what I mean? That's when you switch to the other channel usually, because you've seen it too many times. But anyway, so yes, you're going to burn. And Prabhupada said, therefore, if you want to go to the sun, you need a body of fire. Because the sun is just all made of fire. So you need a body of fire. In the same way, if you go before the Supreme Pure, you have to be pure. So, although these brahmanas here are described as pure, they were pure in the sense that they were obedient to the Vedic injunctions. That gave them purity. They were not acting whimsical, doing anything which the mind or the senses dictated, Oh, I really have to do it. It's stronger than me. No, forget it, forget it. We have to build up strength. Kamadinam kutita pulita durni desas tesam jatamayi na karuna na tapatraya. Why? Because it is said, the senses have no mercy. Na karuna. They have no mercy. They will entangle us in the tapatraya. The tapatraya means the threefold miseries. Miseries of the body and the mind. Miseries caused by other living entities. And miseries of the demigods. You can't escape it. So, therefore, if you just do what the senses are saying, well, then one gets in trouble. And Srila Rupa Goswami also explains, he writes this verse, and he explains, the senses are very ungrateful. They're very ungrateful. You bring them whatever they want. Everything, It's like I do a little act, like a man sitting on a desk with like different telephones, ring, 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 ring. This is your ears, How long is this talk going to go on for, I mean, God, are we going to hear something else? Yes, well, we're working on it. We're trying to get the guy to, Shut up. Okay. Put it down. Ring, 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 ring. Yes, Hungry, hungry, hungry. Tongue, tongue, tongue. We want to eat now. It's brekkie time. Hungry, hungry, hungry. Quickly, quickly, quickly. Yes, sir. Aye, 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 on the dot. And then, aye, aye, aye. It's the red line. Ring, 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 ring. Yes, 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 of course. Yes, of course, dear genital. Yes, of course, you want some action. Yes, I understand. You want it right away. Okay, well, I mean, it's going to take a little time, but we're working on it, and hurry up. Yes, sir. Yes, of course. Like this, the senses are pushing. And what do we do? What do we do, right? Oh, we are obedient servants. No, really, whatever you say. Yes. And then you bring the senses everything they want. And what do you get? At the end you get. Is that all? Is that all you could bring? Out! Bring more! So imagine you have a boss like that. Would you work for a boss like that? I mean, one day you come in the office and what you're going to tell the boss, I mean, something like, jump in the fill in the dots, boss. Or some other variety thereof, It's just intolerable. But when it comes to the senses, oh no. We must obediently just our whole life do whatever these senses dictate. And even in our old age, we have to become a fool once again because the senses are making us a jumping dog in the hands of the opposite sex, as the Bhagavatam is describing. So what to do? Therefore, Bhakti Yoga, like all other forms of yoga, offers a process by which we learn to control the senses through regulation. It is a process of regulation through which we learn to control the senses. But that process of regulation is only a temporary process, because the permanent way to really control the senses is, it is said, param drishta nivartate. It is through a higher taste. It is through fulfillment in serving Krishna. So that is the only thing that will ever put us on the safe platform. That is the only time that we'll finally be safe from Maya. Because Maya is everywhere. Maya is always there. And we were talking about that the other day, how Maya is not only on the outside. If it was only that, no. Maya is also on the inside. And that's Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's statement, and that is the complication. If you have to fight an enemy on the outside, that's one thing. But if the enemy is already within, then you're already half defeated. And that's where we are now. And therefore it's difficult. But in association, in a good regulated process, by every day again taking shelter of the process of devotional service, we can be successful. Therefore, it takes humility. Humility means simply that we realize, I'm not so strong, I'm not so powerful, I need shelter, I need protection. That's really what humility is about. It doesn't necessarily mean that we constantly have to tell everyone that we are a low worm, this low fallen worm, and so on. That's not really necessary. But simply just at least that much humility that we realize, I'm not very strong, I need shelter, I need protection. And in this spirit, we again and again turn to the process of devotional service. And then suddenly everything becomes very nice. Before I was coming to Krishna Consciousness, I was interested in spiritual life, and I was looking here and there, and it appeared to me that the Hare Krishna movement was the most fanatic of all. Yeah? I mean, they seemed to be the ultimate emblem of religious fanaticism. I had just not seen anything like it. I'd seen fanatic Christians coming to my door. No, really not interested. No, not interested. But then you'd see the Hare Krishnas, you'd see them on the street, and they'd like do a trance dance, And I was looking at it like, this is the ultimate height, right, of fanaticism. And these people are outright dangerous. And then I saw them on television, and they were elaborating on their principles, No meat, fish or eggs, no gambling, no intoxication, and no illicit sex. Then I knew they were dangerous, confirmed. So it seemed too extreme. Where I grew up, a little bit outside of Amsterdam, there was, not far from us, there was a monastery. And this monastery, it had a wall of at least 7 meters high with glass on the top, And when I was looking at that wall, I was always thinking, who is the wall for? For the ones on the inside or ones on the outside? Right? I was like, and I've been puzzled throughout my childhood about this wall, like who it was for. And I really wasn't so sure. Anyway, so Krishna Consciousness, it sometimes appears to be a very rigid process, because nothing seems to be allowed. But that is not a fact, actually. Because in Krishna consciousness, one is realizing the higher taste. And then it's no longer that it's forbidden. It's not that we are sitting here, chanting Hare Krishna, and thinking of like McDonald's or something, Hare Krishna, it's like, hold me back, No, the thought of meat eating becomes repulsive. We rise above. I mean, the low life of being in a pub and just throwing in a vat of beer and just like, vomiting in buckets, right? And all these other things. All these things is low life, right? Waking up next to someone, waking up next to a stranger, right? And wondering, like, how did this happen? Kind of situation, which is all part of, which is illicit sex. Then we see these things are all horrible. These things are all really. Therefore, we rather feel lifted up. We feel liberated from a burden. These things are all burdening you, and we just feel like free from all this burning. Like, it's 10 o'clock at night, right? And I feel like going to bed. But there's a lot of people in the city, like at 10 o'clock, they have to go out, right? They gotta go out. It's 10 o'clock, what I mean? It's like, gotta go out. Next door, right? You can hear it. So, how nice it is that one is peaceful and can just, no, I don't need all that. And see all the madness, just all the passion, raging on, and just like not part of it. I'll end very soon. Just last story. In the 80s, I was sent to Australia, because in those days it went like that. I was swapped. They would swap devotees like in the slave trade, and I was swapped, and I was in Australia, and they sent me to this farm, and it was like way in the outback. There were 10,000 kangaroos living on that farm, and it was way out there, and I stayed on that farm for 3 months. And then I came back into the city, and I saw people walking on plateau shoes with like all this, and it looked like a total zoo, I think like this is insanity, right? Insanity. And just get out of the city for a little while, and then it starts to become like that. So how nice that that this movement is pure. It is really pure. We don't need to do all these passionate things, right? Walking on crazy plateau shoes, just to impress someone. I mean, smearing like a whole tube of Brill cream in your hair, you know what I mean? Just to impress somebody, spiky. Come on, It's like, we just don't have to do all these things anymore. And therefore we become so peaceful. So these regulative principles, it's not that forbidden, no entry in all directions. No, it's like higher taste. We really don't need all this anymore. As we were driving in, I saw the advertisements for Kit Kat, and I always thought like, Kit Kat, what a strange name. Is it dog food or something? Yeah, they got like. We've got Barfi, We've got Barfi, Mahaprasadam, from Radha Londonishwara. Now you're talking, right? Now you're talking, We have lost our taste for this dog food. This is very nice. So it's actually not fanaticism. It is actually very natural. We're returning back to our true nature, and with that we become very peaceful and satisfied. And that is Krishna consciousness. And therefore we are also not interested in a lot of Vedic ritual. Therefore we don't need to do all that Vedic ritual, which is all karma kanda, meant to improve the material conditions of life. We don't care about the material conditions of life. We leave it up to Krishna. Yeah. We just try to please Krishna. Okay, that was it for this morning. Any questions or comments?
I was just wondering, in England, racism is illegal. And sometimes I wonder, when people criticize Shakti worshippers, call them primitive, or Mayavadis, as though they know who Mayavadis are.
I could be arrested.
No, but I don't understand why we need to do that, because for me, if it wasn't for Indian culture, which is where these things come from, we wouldn't have Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada wouldn't have been able to give it to us.
Okay.
So we're really indebted to these people, because they've given us indirectly Krishna consciousness.
Okay.
Even if they don't want it themselves, that's their choice. You know, but our choice was to go back to Godhead, and because of them we're able to go back to Godhead.
No. Yeah, it's true that India is an amazing place. You know, when you look at different countries in terms of piety and impiety, then the amount of piety in India is so much, right, that practically everyone turns to God, right? But even if they do it, as is said in Bhagavad Gita, avidi purvakam, yeah? Even if they do it in the wrong way. Yeah? So Krishna speaks about the wrong way, avidi purvakam. So what do I do with Krishna's statements? Yeah, what do we do when Krishna is saying that avajanate mam muda, right? Those who are not worshipping me, they are mudas. So, like then I have to look in a Sanskrit dictionary and try and translate the word muda in a way that it may not upset people, because, sort of the general translation of the word muda is ass. What can I do? Which is something that people may not appreciate. So it's Krishna himself who is speaking out against. And why is Krishna doing so? Because the problem with karma kanda is that it is the slow lane. Like here in England you have like the lane for the crawlers, right? In Germany a few years ago on the Autobahn, where there's no speed limit, right? There, they had they have right side traffic, so the slow lane's on the right. And then they had a sign with many turtles on it, all walking behind each other, and said, "Turtles to the right." And then, so, all right. And you can just see the turtles on the right. And then, if you look at spiritual life, it's sort of like 3 lanes, the turtle lane. I'm like, well, shall I? Should I? Can I? Do I really want? And then you have the middle lane of like serious sadhaka, and then you have the fast lane. So you see, suddenly you see some lights flashing behind you, and then just like, whoosh, there goes Rupa Goswami, flying by. Yeah. So you got to see in spiritual life we have these lanes, right? So the problem with karma kanda is that although it connects people to Vedic culture, and in that way it is good. And in that way we have appreciation for it. At the same time, though, it is the turtle lane. It's going to take a long, long time to come up through that process of being connected with some Vedic ritual to gradually come to bhakti. And therefore, we are sometimes a little impatient, and therefore in the process we smash the shakters a little, like bang, 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 just to kind of establish that this is too slow. Don't go that way. Don't go that way. Come to bhakti, really, because we have to go back to Godhead as soon as possible. Kali Yuga is already getting bad. And what if we have to take another birth in the future? What's it going to be like? It could even be worse. Right? You know, I mean, I could imagine in the Bhakta program that, you know, a bite would be missing from someone's shoulder, and it goes like, who took that bite? I mean, that could be the future. Cannibalism is predicted as like kind of coming up. So there is an urgency. Yeah. You have to, with me, you know, you have to read between the lines. Yeah? Okay? Like, don't get hung up on my words. I'm playful. I've never grown up. I'm still a kid, and I can't help it. I have to play. So as I speak, I play with words, but I'm dead serious underneath, actually. Very. And so it's out of mercy upon the conditioned souls that Srila Prabhupada would go around and call them rascals. It's out of mercy that we have to reject the shakters, although on the other side we offer them respect also. Yeah? It's out of mercy that we have to speak out against sometimes, to establish really bhakti here, bhakti now, right? Not later, no, now, right away, hurry up, right? Here, this is it, you know, this is the exit, yes, here it is, you know, no, not in the garden, no, not up the staircase, no, here, the exit, here, bhakti. We have to do it. Because once you're in the turtle lane, the turtle lane, and go really slow, and you say, hey, what is that little path there? Maybe I should have a look at that also. And then the turtle goes for another million lives in distraction. And that's the danger. So that's the problem with shakhter worship. It's good, it's part of Vedic culture. It's bad that it's so going to take so long to overcome the influence of the mode of ignorance. That's why we still have to speak out from no, not shakhter worship. No. Any form of offering flesh, we reject it. Whether it's in sacrifice, whatever may be, we reject it. No flesh in any form whatsoever. No flesh. No. It's cruel. It has to stop. It has to stop. No, we are not the Vedic revival movement. No. We are Lord Chaitanya's Sankirtan movement. We are the mercy movement. No. No return of animal sacrifices. No. Shakters. And fish is not pani phal. Huh? It is not fruit from the water. No. It's not. No fish either. What to do? You know, the fishing in the Ganga. You know? You gotta tell them to stop. So you see, the point is that there are dilemmas arising in these matters. We have the appreciation, but we have a dilemma, because we also have appreciation for the poor animals and the poor little fish, and you know, what can they do? They have a right to live.
Thank you very much, Maharaj.
Thank you also for playing accordion.
Sorry for any mistakes.
I'll forgive you.
You mentioned how in the early days your own experience, and maybe the experience of many people, was that we seemed like a very extreme movement. So my question is, do you feel that we still may come across as extreme in some cases or in some instances? And if so, what would you suggest? Is there something we can do?
Yeah, I mean, we may still come across as extreme, you know, in like, you know, a pink bed sheet and a bald head and so on. And what to do about it? You can stick on a mustache, you know, and so on. You can go in disguise. I have something I read one day somewhere, one of these anonymous sayings, but no one knows who ever came up with it. But it says that the religion that marries the spirit of the age will be a widow tomorrow. The religion that marries the spirit of the age will be a widow tomorrow. In other words, if we embrace the fashion, then, one day we'll be out of fashion. And then what? Yeah. So, Prabhupada used to say that we are not aiming to please the audience. We are aiming to please Krishna. Yeah. So, but with that doesn't mean we can't use a little tact, right, and some strategy and so on. And we have lots of bridge preaching nowadays, and indirect ways of approaching people, and and stretch your leg and bend your back and touch the tip of your toes with your nose, and all these kind of things. And I could lead a Hatha Yoga session, no problem, as you can hear, and people might like it. So bridge preaching is a good way to bring in people. The only problem with it is that for the first generation who does it, it is like a preaching strategy. For the second generation who grew up with it, it becomes a way of life. And there is a risk that at one point we lose our identity. So with all the indirect ways to approach people, we also gonna need some sort of hardcore Hare Krishnas. Yeah? I mean, just some really old-fashioned hardcore, Haris. just to protect the integrity of the sampradaya. So we have to look at it from different sides, like that. But that we need a bit more than only a hardcore approach. I think so. Yeah. And Prabhupada was also kind of quite a flexible person. Was ready to live with the hippies, and but certain elements have to be there. Sooner, you can do some Hatha Yoga, but how long are we going to do Hatha Yoga before we start chanting Hare Krishna? At one point, it has to pick up like that. Yeah? Otherwise, it gets watered down. Okay, last one because it's getting late.
Regarding conditioning of the mind, the samskaras that one has created, I understand Krishna consciousness can get rid of all the bad samskaras, but then I've also heard that we may also be scarred, and the Krishna consciousness may not be able to get rid of some samskaras, even though.
Okay, the word samskara I don't like so much in this context. Generally, we use the word for positive. Positive essence, but we may have we may have bad karma, right? Bad karmic reactions, and Krishna consciousness is always more powerful than karma. Yeah, it is not that that karma can ever overcome bhakti. Bhakti will always be victorious over karma. Right? However, sometimes the karma is such that it makes it a little difficult to apply ourselves to bhakti. Like, for example, when you have totally lost it, bing, kuk, and so on, then a little visit to the funny farm can help, right? Before you go in the bhakti program. Right? So, there is a bit of that also, sometimes. Sometimes people have gotten themselves so much entangled in the lower modes, right? If someone has a severe drug habit, right, and has to shoot up every few hours, it's hard to maintain that in the upstairs, So, like that, there may be, for some people, some preliminary discipline can be helpful. But even if someone who is completely caught up in the lowest state of life starts chanting Hare Krishna in the midst of all that, that can pull him out of it. That is possible. But a little time in the clinic can also help sometimes. That's it. Like that. Okay, thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj ki.
Such a nice temple, huh?
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for coming to us, blessing us with your association, your enthusiastic kirtans, and your wonderful philosophical and insightful classes. Please come as often as you can. So we'll just read the Sankirtan scores from yesterday. Uddhav Damodar Prabhu collected 18 Lakshmi points, distributed 4 small books, 2 medium books, 4 Maha big books for 10 book points. Bhakta Lori collected 24 Lakshmi points, distributed 6 Maha big books for 12 book points. Sundar Nitai Prabhu collected 61 Lakshmi points, distributed 56 small books for 14 book points. Bhakta Pasha collected 44 Lakshmi points, distributed 4 small books, 4 medium books, 8 Maha big books for 19 book points. And Bhakta Kalpesh collected 40 Lakshmi points, distributed 11 Maha big books for 22 book points. And Bhakta Alexei collected 48 Lakshmi points, distributed 5 small books, 11 Maha big books for 23.25 book points. And Sachi Kumar Nimai Prabhu collected 80 Lakshmi points, distributed 119 small books for 29.75 book points. And top of the list, His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada collected 315 Lakshmi points, distributed 24 small books, 17 medium books, 1 medium hard book, 17 big books, 53 Maha big books, and 1 set for 145.45 book points. So there was a total of 8 scores reported, and altogether we collected 630 Lakshmi points, distributed 212 small books, 23 medium books, 1 medium hard book, 17 big books, 93 Maha big books, 1 set for 275.45 book points. Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. So just before we say our prayer, I'll ask for servers on the ladies' side for prasadam. Some volunteers, 1, 2, 3. Great, thank you very much. And some volunteers to serve prasadam on the men's side. Thank you very much. And please could I also have some volunteers to help clean the temple after breakfast prasadam. Okay, we'll sort something out. Okay, so we'll just say our prayer now before we take prasadam. So please repeat after me. Dear Shri Shri Radha Landaneshwara, Jagannath Baladev and Subhadra, Shri Shri Gaur Nitai, and Giri Govardhan, we offer our most respectful obeisances unto you. With a mood of deep gratitude and appreciation, we request your causeless mercy upon us. For your pleasure, we are endeavouring to distribute the books of your pure devotee, Srila Prabhupada, to the fallen conditioned souls of London. If you so desire, please enable us to cooperate together in a mood of selfless service in order to maintain and increase our efforts. Please send more devotees to assist us in bringing many new souls to your lotus feet. We, your surrendered servants, humbly beg. Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai. His Holiness Kadamba Kanana Maharaj Ki Jai. So if everyone could please help in the prasadam chain, then we can get on with breakfast quickly. Hare Krishna.
arranged because Sukadeva is very
So you've already.
I'm being sorry. You know, there are two types. There's one type that has sugar, and there's one type that has sorbitol. When it has sorbitol, it also needs magnesium stearate to bind with the water. Mostly not that.
Because the reason I'm told by the Bhajanias to get that.
So there are two types. I'm going to tell you. There are two types. The ones with sugar are okay, they don't have magnesium stearate. These ones.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Yeah, see, there's also other types of sugar.
But this was not like that. I didn't notice it's sugar free because we just sorbitol.
Sugar is sugar.
Yeah.
I think all the devotees are aware.
By the way, it's impressive with this intention for the salad. It's dangerous stuff.
Oh, right. Actually,
So
you
we
know
should
what?
get the one.
I noticed actually that you have a because I was looking like
Well, I was wondering if you had a different I'm sorry about it. I had no idea. The reason why I got it because that's what the devotees always take. You always take. And you
No, I wasn't.
And I wasn't even aware that this one was because I just, they only had the very few, and this was the only one they had. When we got that, I got this for the
Give it to this guy.
throw it in the river.
Yeah, throw it in the river. Oh.